'Cause it's a deadly game that we play as we live our lives. Well, no, actually, there was no deadly game this year. Sorry about that. But be that as it may, I am Brian Zane, and this is the Survivor Series post-show review. Normally I do this live on YouTube, but as anyone who watched the feed tonight would realize, there was a lot of lag, a lot of technical issues that I just could not overcome, and so for the first time in a while I'm doing a pre-taped review about the show. So again, I apologize for the technical difficulties. It's really embarrassing for me. I hope you can forgive me about that. Be that as it may, let's start and talk about the show that even ISIS couldn't stop, the show that had some of the most intriguing and controversial and interesting build going into the show, and it had nothing to do with what the writers did. Let's talk about Survivor Series. First of all, the pre-show match, the Survivor Series match featuring the Cosmic Wasteland, The Miz and Bo Dallas versus Neville, the Dudleys, Titus O'Neil, and Goldust. That was a big surprise for me. I didn't expect that at all. I would hope that with him being involved in this match, it would lead more to a longer storyline between him and Stardust. If that's not the case, then I wonder why they didn't have the two of them fight more in this match. This is just going to be a one-off blow-off match, and they really should have had the two of them go at it more. But instead, it was very limited. So it makes me think that they might be building toward that dream match between Cody Rhodes and Goldust that people have been wanting for years. So we'll see how that turns out. It's difficult to talk about these matches in great detail because there's so many people involved, and as long as the matches are relatively botch-free, I don't really care, how they are, because they're entertaining matches. Everyone gets their stuff in, and it's a good time had by all. So yeah, I mean, I think people might be reading into it the fact that Neville was the only good guy eliminated from his team. I wouldn't read into it too much because I think it's just a case of the heels needed some heat. And so, logically, he was the only one who could really get rid of him and Titus O'Neil, maybe. But, him being the only one eliminated from the face team, I wouldn't put too much stock into it. So, this match was okay. Let's start with the tournament semifinal match to open the show. It was Roman Reigns, and it was Alberto Del Rio, the U.S. champion. The all-black logo on Roman Reigns' outfit had me wondering, is it foreshadowing a heel turn? Very read between the lines sort of thing. Say what you will about Roman Reigns and his personality and the way he cuts promos. Let's be honest, the way they script him, he's not very good at promos. But the one thing he does almost better than anyone else on the show, in my opinion, is the way he just projects and emotes in the ring, the way he animates his body with everything he does so that everyone in the back row can see exactly what he's doing. That is the mark of a really good wrestler for the most part. And I think the fact he does it very well, I think it's one of the reasons why he's placed on the card where he is. It's just the way he is. It's kind of like the thing I could compare it to is the way Steve Austin running the ropes. You might have heard that kind of anecdote a lot about Steve Austin. It's just the way he does certain things almost like he's a man on fire, a man possessed. Roman Reigns is kind of like that, has the same energy when he is, doing his actions. I'm not saying Roman Reigns is like Steve Austin. Before you hit the comment section, that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that Roman Reigns has a physical quality about him that makes him so valued in the company. But anyway, be that as it may, it was a really good competitive match, a really great way to start the show. The only knock I had on the match was I wish Roman Reigns had sold the arm a lot better when he won the match, when he was done, because he had that arm breaker on for a good long time and over the ropes. That looks pretty devastating. So I wish he had sold it a little bit better to kind of have more of the battle wounds going into the main event. I thought that was very lacking. But other than that, it was a good match. The promo before this match between Kevin Owens and Roman Reigns, the way it was brought up, I almost thought that, maybe Kevin Owens is going to go over Dean Ambrose on this one, the way they were talking about it. Obviously, storyline-wise, it was a better story for Dean Ambrose to go over. Which is what happened, but that's just the first thing I thought when I saw that promo. Like, boy, Kevin Owens sure is getting a lot of words in on Roman Reigns. I wonder if he's going to be the one he's fighting at the main event. Again, it was another good match. Ambrose and Owens are both two good workers. You can usually rely on them to have good matches with anyone, really. And, after Kevin Owens had to be kind of saddled with Ryback over the last couple of months, to have him fight Dean Ambrose on the pay-per-view match of this caliber is a really good change of pace for Kevin Owens. So good on him. I think we've reached peak Ambrose when it comes to that rebound clothesline. He does it at least twice a match, twice a night, and it's just like, okay, the first couple times it was pretty cool because it looked very spontaneous, but now it just looks so planned. It's just, it's dare I say fake, it's just kind of weird. Another thing about, we were talking earlier about how about how Roman Reigns has amazing body language in the ring. Kevin Owens does an amazing amount of trash talking. He's the best trash talker in WWE right now. Whether he's just because he's allowed to do it or he just does it or not, and whether that matters, it doesn't really matter. I think it's just he's a great trash talker. It really helps solidify his character and who he is. What can I say about this match? It's really fun, and all I can wonder is I wonder if Dean Ambrose will change his shirt by the time he comes out for the main event. Up next, the other 5-on-5 Survivor Series matchup. It was the New Day, Sheamus and King Barrett versus Ryback, the Lucha Dragons, and the Usos. It was a good opening heel promo. I really liked it. Everyone got to show their personalities and stuff. Although I thought it was a little weird that they had Michael Cole say, "Oh, Sheamus needs a new personality," after Sheamus did his bit. Like, that's such a weird thing to say for someone who they're going to, spoiler alert, put the title on. That was clearly a line that was fed to him by Vince McMahon. I thought it was very weird that they said that about him. Very counterproductive. Again, very difficult to talk about this match. Like, okay, everyone got their stuff in. It didn't have any botches that I could tell, and that's ironic coming from Sin Cara. Speaking of Sin Cara, I thought it was weird that he did a one-arm powerbomb in the match, and that's weird. Like, why would you do that spot when Roman Reigns just did to Alberto Del Rio? Kind of takes the effect, takes the oomph and the impact out of what Reigns did when Sin Cara, a much smaller individual, is doing it as well. I thought the finish to the match was way too similar to the finish of the pre-show Survivor Series match, because Stardust is all on an island by himself and he got beat up really quickly and was defeated. Sheamus lasted a lot longer against the other three people. I think it was Ryback, one of the Usos, and Kalisto. He fought all three of them valiantly, and then it was ultimately defeated. So it was a very similar finish, except Sheamus put up more of a fight, which is good because it makes him look strong, but at the same time, it was such a weird face thing you do. You don't do that with a big heel, you do that with a face. So the fact they had the same finish was just a little bit of a twist added to it for Sheamus, I thought was really weird. I thought they could have done a whole lot differently with that Survivor Series match. Other than that, though, I think it was an okay match. Before we talk about the Divas Championship match, let's talk about the thing that everyone was talking about this past week. It was the big comments that Paige had about Reid Flair during her contract signing with Charlotte on Monday night. I thought, here's the thing. I think incorporating tragedy into storylines can be done effectively. Obviously, I think the whole thing with Eddie Guerrero was overboard. What they did with CM Punk and Undertaker over Paul Bearer, it was pushing it, but I think it was overall okay. Jericho and Punk over Punk's his troubled past, I think that was fine. There's good ways to do it and there's bad ways to do it. Eddie Guerrero was one bad way to do it, and Reid Flair, the way they brought him up, was super just lazy writing by the people in WWE. I mean, they had so little heat going into this match, and it showed later on that they just had to throw this thing out and see what stuck, and they went with the Reid Flair thing. Oh, it was so bad. I would have been more okay with it if the family was okay with it. But the fact that then in the days ensuing, both Ric Flair and his ex-wife, Charlotte and Reid's mom, both said that they were blindsided by. I thought that was totally classless by WWE to do that. I think, and the biggest thing about that whole Reid Flair comment was it was all meant to drum up interest in the Divas Championship match. But what were people talking about that whole week? Not about the match. In my circles, I didn't see anything online talking about, oh boy, can't wait to see that Divas Championship match. No, it was all about the Reid Flair thing and how they totally just went way overboard bringing him up in order to draw heat to this heatless feud. And it's just indicative of how poorly they've been booking the whole Divas Revolution in the first place. So now we talk about the Divas Championship match. Paige fighting against Charlotte, who came out to crickets. Again, the whole Reid Flair thing, it didn't do anything to drum up support for this match. It didn't make Charlotte any more of a sympathetic figure. If anything, Paige got more face pops during this match than Charlotte did. Also noticed in the promo package and then all the talk on the commentary, they never once brought up the Reid Flair comment. So it shows you, what they got from the backlash and what they decided to do instead of that. So they decided just to back away from that entirely. Another thing about the Reid Flair thing is that people do say online that they didn't think it was that bad. It's, the one thing I've learned about after doing this show, the one thing I've learned about wrestling fans is that there is not one God-blessed thing in the world of professional wrestling that all fans can agree on. There will always be two sides of a debate on anything. And it's just weird. And this is just one of those things. No one's going to agree on anything in wrestling. That's just what I've learned. But again, back to this match, the crowd was just dead for it the whole time. And God bless the wrestlers and the announcers, because they were really trying to put over how personal this match was and how physical they were being with each other. I think they told a really good story in the ring, but the crowd just did not care. Divas Revolution, everyone. Yeah, and by the way, Charlotte went over. Up next, Tyler Breeze versus Dolph Ziggler, aka, I don't really care about this storyline, honestly. I don't know what you want me to say about this match. It was a good match. Tyler Breeze went over, which is good for him because he hasn't won a whole lot since he's been on the main roster, and he needs this, but it was ultimately not very memorable. I don't know if they're going to do a rematch next month or what, but it's just like, this whole thing is just lukewarm. I think Dolph Ziggler lost a lot of his oomph during the whole Ziggler, Rusev, Lana, Summer Rae thing earlier this year, that it's going to be tough for him to come back from it. Just think of it last year. They brought it up in the commentary how last year this time he was the star of Survivor Series. And now, like, what is he doing? What do they do to him? What do he do to his look? What's the bandana and the face paint about? I don't get it. Anyway, that was the match. Whatever. Moving on to the semi-main, it's Undertaker and Kane versus Bray Wyatt and Luke Harper. I have a few issues with this match, which I'm going to bring up right now. First of all, I think everyone and their mother kind of expected it to be a Survivor Series match, a 4-on-4 elimination between Undertaker, Kane, and 2 other people versus all 4 Wyatts. That made the most sense, but as we all know, sense and logic usually go out the window with WWE. I think maybe it had something to do with the fact that everyone was injured, or that 4-on-4 isn't traditional, or something like that, or maybe they couldn't find the right 2 people to go well with Taker and Kane. Maybe that had something to do with it, but it was just super weird that they went with a regular tag team match. Another issue I had was the fact that Bray Wyatt was one of the people in the tag team. If you're doing this whole thing where Bray Wyatt is going to pick 2 people to face Undertaker and Kane, what was the point of having that build and that intrigue if he's just going to choose himself? That seems so weird and counterproductive. Not to mention the way they built this match in the first place in the weeks leading up to it. Undertaker and Kane never looked weak. And by that I mean they never got attacked, they never got jumped. The Wyatts never came out looking good at the end of a Monday Night Raw. They are always getting beat up and running away. So we know Taker and Kane are going to win at Survivor Series, but at least give us some kind of idea, some kind of doubt in our minds that the Wyatts might go over by building it well. I don't understand. These people don't know how to build a show. Anyway, I think the entrance was cool. Undertaker's intro was cool. The door, the casket, and you see the different kinds of Undertaker over the years. That was a really cool moment. Let's see here. The match itself, it was just kind of of all the matches Taker has had this year, this was the worst one out of all of them. Not to say it was terribly bad, it just wasn't very good either. It was just really boring, paint by numbers. You saw everything coming a mile away. And again, the finish is very predictable because the Wyatts never looked good. It's cycle, rinse, repeat with Bray Wyatt. He talks a bunch of smack and he gets beat up. At least he didn't take the fall. At least Luke Harper took the fall this time. I think that the fact that it was a tag team match made it not a great Undertaker match because he's never really excelled in tag teams. He's always been a good solo guy. But yeah, not a great match. Considering the epicness, the moment of Undertaker having 25 years in the business, 25 years in WWE, and for this to be the match to celebrate it, I thought that was a little underwhelming. The main event of the evening was the WWE title tournament finals. Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose for the title. Don't have a whole lot of notes for this match. It was a really good match between these two. I don't think you've ever seen these two fight before in a singles match, so it was kind of cool to see these two face versus face go at it. I don't think people were overwhelmingly against Reigns. It wasn't the way it was at WrestleMania when he was clearly not on the fans' side. I think like I've been saying the last few months, these pay-per-view reviews, he's gotten better. He's gotten more and more of the fan support. Not all of it, but he's gotten a lot more than he did at the beginning of the year. So I think it was really good. The crowd was pretty much split, I think, when I was listening to the crowd. I was paying attention to the crowd noise, trying to see who was getting more of the pops, more of the boos. And Reigns did get booed a little bit, but I don't think it was a huge deal. It was, again, not WrestleMania bad, not Royal Rumble bad. So anything beyond that is an improvement, as far as I know. I thought the spot after the double down where they got up and started shoving each other and punching each other, that was a funny spot. It's just, they kept playing up to the holding their friends. They don't really want to have to beat each other up to a pulp to win the title, but they know they have to. It was really good storytelling. When Reigns won clean, I was really surprised. I think everyone was kind of predicting someone's going to turn heel in this match. I'll talk about that in a little bit, but I'm glad it didn't happen. Reigns winning clean with the spear, the pop that he got, wasn't a Daniel Bryan pop or a Steve Austin pop, but they didn't get booed either. It was not a WrestleMania or a Royal Rumble crowd reaction. People were in favor of him winning. They liked to see him win. And the way they built him up as someone who's been denied time and time again to finally reach it was really cool. eerily reminiscent of Daniel Bryan's story, but you know, we're not going to discuss that. But then the confetti comes down, and then Triple H comes out, and then we're all expecting, oh, maybe he's going to join the Authority. But he doesn't. He spears Triple H, and then Sheamus happened. And then the fact that he kicked out of the first Brogue Kick, and then he almost came back and stopped it, and then beat Sheamus, or looked like he was going to hit Sheamus with something. I thought that was really cool. It had me excited. Man, maybe he's actually going to retain. Because I think him, and what eventually happened, for those of you who don't know, is that Sheamus gets 2 Brogue Kicks, wins the title, shakes hands and hugs with Triple H, and I guess now he's part of the Authority. Okay, so, you know, I think a lot of people thought Sheamus was going to go over at some point, or he was going to cash in. Something was going to happen with Sheamus. It made the most sense. But I think people were also anticipating either Reigns or Ambrose would turn heel. I'm glad they didn't, because they need faces. Like, with everyone hurt, they have to keep as many faces as they can, but they also need more heels. But with Sheamus now in the main event as the WWE Champion, that fills a big void. Eerily reminiscent finish to SummerSlam 13 when Orton cashed in against Daniel Bryan, and that started that whole thing, and Orton shook hands with Triple H. This show, from top to bottom, I have to give it, like, it's probably my lowest grade ever for a pay-per-view since I've been reviewing them. But I have to give it like a C-D grade, honestly. When you just look at the whole spectrum, it was very predictable, so there wasn't a whole lot of ooh and ah factor for this show. Tack on to the fact that the Tyler Breeze Dolph Ziggler match had no heat to it. Same thing with the Divas match, despite their damnedest to make it have heat. The Taker match, something as momentous as 25 years of Taker, for them to have such a lame tag team match. Like, the Survivor Series matches, they were okay. They were entertaining in their own way, but they didn't carry their own weight. The tournament matches themselves were okay, but it was super predictable. I have to give it, you know, a D grade for Survivor Series. Not the best showing for Survivor Series. Not the best showing this year. You know, in the past, I've defended shows that are predictable, but at least the matches are good. At this point, I can't really do it. I know you have to give it a handicap because so many people are hurt and they had to scramble and change so much stuff. But it's just one of those things where it's like, it's kind of a do or die time for WWE. Like I said in my video when Seth Rollins got injured, it's this point now where they have to do something. They really should try and make the most out of what they have. Like Big E would say, if you have booty, you gotta make booty aid. All the injuries are very booty for WWE, so it's up to them to try and make things interesting as they wait for people to come back. But you know, the one thing I will say, the one positive, the silver lining, at least it wasn't Cena winning the title. That's the one thing I'm gonna say. So thank your lucky stars, it was just Sheamus winning it and cashing in and making that super predictable. Cena would have been more predictable. Think about that. So what did you think of Survivor Series? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to thumbs up this video, subscribe to Wrestling with Regret, and buy the t-shirts at ProWrestlingTees.com. I'm Brian Zane, and I'll see you next time.